Okay, guys, we're on page 10. We're continuing and about to finish our discussion on judging other people favorably. We finished last class. I'm going to repeat it again, though. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. That's note 1 on page 10. Let's have a look at this Mishnah, try to figure it out a little bit, and then ask a very pertinent question. The Mishnah says, V'al tadin et chavrecha ad shtagia lemkomo. Do not judge another person until you have reached their place. Until you have reached their place. What do you think this Mishnah is talking about? Don't judge another person until you've reached their makom, their place. Yeah.
It's basically saying you can't judge anyone at all because you're never gonna know like what situation they're in or like what.
So you would have thought it would mean exactly what you're saying, that you can't judge anyone at all because
you haven't been in their step, like you haven't been in their place.
Exactly. So one interpretation could be, don't judge people because you're never in their place. But then again, maybe we can judge someone if we've been in their place before. Is that possible? What can place mean?
Sort of like walking in their shoes. But that's what I don't understand. Like I get like if there's one situation happening and you've been in that one situation, but what if there's like a ton of other situations that led up to that one that you haven't been through?
Exactly. So you're saying, Kayla's saying something very important. She's like, it's impossible because even if you've found yourself in a certain place, which is very similar to somebody else, even so, there's so many other factors in this person's life that led them to that point. How can you judge them? Truth be told, it's very, very difficult. People are very quick to judge others, but it's a very, very difficult thing to do. Having said that, sometimes circumstances dictate that we have to make a decision about it. If people volunteer themselves to want to be judged, they have a similar experience. It came to my head, so I thought I'd mention it. I used to work with Jewish addicts, drug addicts. And there was an organization here in the city, an excellent organization called JACS, Jewish Alcoholics, Chemically Dependent and Significant Others. And there you have people whose lives were on the line from alcohol, drugs, and pills, and all the rest of it. And there's people over there who have experience, who've been there, who've been involved in what these people who are coming in, fresh people have been involved in, and they will tell them straight up, this is not acceptable, this you can't do. They will tell them straight up. Like, how do you... I've been there. I may not have been to every place you've been to, and not every situation you've had, but I've been there. So to some degree, when people volunteer it at least, it's possible you could have maybe touched that place itself. That's why Rav Avadia Bar Tanura says, Imra'it chavrecha, if you see someone else fail a challenge, al tadinu, don't judge that person lochova negatively until you have undergone the same challenge and overcome it. So he's understanding the idea of makom as being a challenge that they are going through, that they failed at, that you've been through and you did well. You're not there to just like mock them. You're there to help them, to improve them. The challenge is there to be overcome, and you're going to judge them in order to help them overcome it. So the question is, why we judge at all? Why do we have to judge? What's the big deal? Why do we have to judge? Over here we're saying judge the right time, the right way, reach their place. But why do we have to judge? Just say don't judge anyone ever. Could have just said that. It doesn't say that. It puts so many caveats around it. Why can't it just say don't judge other people? Oh, why does she have to do that? Why does she have to do that? Why do you have to go there? Why do you have to marry that person? Why do you have to buy that? I mean, we're constantly at it. Our entire lives are made up of doing this. Why can't Torah say just don't do it rather than, well, you have to do it this way, in this circumstance, but not like this and like that? Emily Okin.
It helps us empathize with others. Because once we see them do something, we start questioning why they're doing it, and then we start questioning their motives for doing it, and then we come to either understand them or make some type of connection.
Okay, so that's actually the second answer, which I was going to say, which is very, very good, which is, we're not expected just to sit around in our islands and do nothing. Not judge anyone, not get involved. I'm not looking, I'm not there. Who am I to judge? So we have two extremes. One is we judge people all the time, but there's another extreme where we don't judge at all. There's a famous story they always teach, and I remember a sociology professor, and Dr. Lang here always talks about it as well. The famous story from the 1960s or 70s of a woman called Kitty Genovese. She was a woman who was being attacked in the middle of the night, by someone and was screaming out. And there was an apartment building right where this attack was happening. And windows were open. And she was screaming. And no one came to help her. And then the screaming stopped. The guy ran away. And then the guy came back. And if I remember correctly, ended up killing her. So there was a big sociological debate. Why did no one do nothing? Why did no one do nothing when they heard this woman screaming? So what do most people think? When they interviewed people afterwards, the police were like, had you called us, we could have got her and actually helped the woman. What do most people think? A very famous case. Most people said,
that other people would do
someone else would do something about it. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get involved. It's not me to get involved. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure someone else will do something about it. That's generally, I think that's the natural default position most people get into. And this poor woman, Kitty Genevieve, ended up dying because of it. So number one, you've got to get involved. I can't judge. Maybe he doesn't want to kill her. Maybe they're having a fight. You know what? Err on the side of caution. If someone's screaming for their life, assume something bad is happening to them. So you can't just pull yourself away and be like, I'm not judging. Who am I? Maybe they're just having their own thing. I don't want to get involved. That's not a Jewish view. But there's another answer to this, which is actually pretty incredible. And the answer is, we're made to judge. It's human nature. It's human nature to judge. So whenever we have a human nature for something, the Torah, Hashem always expects us to channel that into the positive. For example, you're not allowed to be jealous. Right? The 10th of the 10 commandments you remember from last semester. Remember that? Is there never an occasion where I can be jealous of somebody else? Is there ever an occasion? We spoke about this, yeah, Rach?
You can be jealous of someone if it's gonna inspire you.
If you think it's going to inspire you, exactly, you can be jealous of that person.
Yeah.
That means the jealousy is there, not because I want what they have. I'm like, wow. So jealousy is a natural thing, and it's a good thing. I mean, if applied wrongly, if you want their stuff, it ain't a good thing. If you want to be like them and achieve greatness, then it's called Kinat Sofrim. Jealousy of wise, smart people. That actually has its own name. This is the same. You're going to judge anyway. So when you judge, do it favorably. So judging yourself is not a bad thing. Every negative trait, this is a very important concept, it's got to run right through the semester. Any negative trait that we have always has a positive application. Sometimes the application is really small. Like in anger, there's very little good that comes out. There's some good, or Hashem, God wouldn't have made anger. We're going to do a few classes on anger. Not that anyone here has an anger problem, I can see that. You're all calm all the time and never get upset. Yeah. So when it comes to anger, it's something small, but there's always some positive application. There's got to be some good that comes out of it. Blank page. Computer.
Oh, it is. It's,
Oh, good, okay.
oh,
I'm
no,
staring at
it's,
it.
no, it's words.
Fine, good. So when it comes to, sorry for judging you wrongly. So when it comes to judging people, which you're going to do anyway, do it positively. Because there's obviously something good that's going to come out of judging people. Are we following this idea? Okay, we saw the Mishnah, we saw Rav Vadia, and we saw two reasons as to why that is. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper, then I'll tell you an interesting story that happened here at Stone on this exact topic. Yes.
One, when you say, because it's human nature to judge, so saying if you're gonna judge, you might as well judge favorably. But
We
that
say,
doesn't mean people are gonna just because you're judging someone when you're in their shoes, it doesn't mean you're judging them. I'm kind of confused because.
that's the point. The obligation is you have to judge favorably. You're going to judge anyway, so do it favorably.
I thought also since it is human nature, Hashem would want us, because He knows that everyone would do it regardless. He would want us to sin less. So He's saying at least don't judge all the time, but only judge.
No,
every
there's
day.
some very, very good. There's something good. This is exactly the point I'm going to come to right now. There's something good about judging. It's not like it's terrible things to do it positively. We're saying there is something good in it. Something good in it. Now, so far, we've looked at it, it's good for other people. I judge Emily well because I want, to think the best about Emily. I don't want people to think badly about her. So I'm always going to judge her positively. That's what we looked at so far. But there's another aspect to this, that it's actually good for the person doing the judging. Now that's a 180 turn from where we've been so far. So far, we looked at the receiver of the judging. Now we're saying the person, the judger, themselves ends up benefiting when another person is judged favorably by them. So when you judge someone, they got no idea. It's all in your head. They're not even affected by it. Well, like, so if you do it positively, it's going to be good for you, and you, and you, and you. Does that make sense? Lara.
Source number 2, Rabbi Ovadia.
Yes, of
So-
Baratanora. Not just the wine.
As so if somebody does something and then succeeds, and something that somebody else hasn't, so the fact that he has succeeded
Gives
him
them some right to judge. To judge. Not negatively. I'm going to judge him like, that was the wrong thing to do, you can do it better.
How is that not negative?
That's very positive.
I was saying that you can
I mean, look at you have a trainer. Let's make it mundane, okay? Someone's training for the Olympics, okay? And someone misses 4 trainings, right? And says, you're missing training over here. You're never going to get through. You're going to work much harder. You're like, don't judge me. No. I'm judging you. I'm your trainer. What do you know? I've been there. I'm telling you, I know what happens if you don't work hard. I know if you don't study for your exam, you're going to fail it. Are you judging me? No. I'm actually informing you. Where'd you get this information from? I've been through it. I know what it's like to take exams. I know what it's like to study. I know what it's like to train. I know what it's like to get on a diet. I've been there. That already qualifies you, according to Rabbi Ovadia Baratanora, to at least have some say.
What was the first reason you said again? Not the second.
The first reason, you can't just hold back. That was Emily's point. You can't just hold, you've got to get involved in society. Getting involved in society means you're involved with people. You have to be there. That's the whole Kitty Genovese idea. You can't just sit back and like, no, everything's okay. It's all good. Just do whatever you want. Right? You can't do that's the opposite extreme. You got to get involved in society. If you see someone being hurt, someone being upset, right? You see a poor person, I ain't getting involved. No, that's not a Jewish concept. People are suffering. You get involved. So one of the earlier sources for this, which I didn't bring down, but just so you have it outside, is the story of Cain and Abel. Cain v'Hevel. Cain and Abel brought sacrifices to God, and Cain's was rejected, Abel's was accepted, and Cain became jealous and killed Hevel and killed him. You remember the story? You started that story yet in your Bible classes? Okay.
Yeah.
What does God say to Cain right after this murder? Where is your brother? Very, very good. Where is your brother? And what does Cain say? Yes, Leo. Look at that smile.
I'm not my brother's keeper.
Am I my brother's keeper? Was that your question? Am I my brother's keeper? I don't have to apologize. Hashomer achi anochi. Am I my brother's keeper? What does God respond to that?
What have you done?
What have he done? He doesn't answer. What could he have said?
You killed your brother.
You got your brother! You're mad! Yes, actually, you are your brother's keeper. He could have said that. That would have been a very valid response. But God doesn't say that. He left it open. He left it as a question and didn't answer it. Why did Hashem leave it open and not answer it? Says Rabbi Samuel Fell-Hirsch that every generation has to come along and ask that question and answer it themselves. Yet God answered it. We're glad I find it's answered. Done. But when Cain asks the question and God doesn't answer it, we read it every year when the Pasha comes around. Cain killed Hevel, my brother's keeper. We're like, whoa. You know what? I better think about that. That's worth ruminating on. Maybe I am my brother's keeper. So that question actually has remained a question through history as each generation reads it and is expected to act upon it, that you are responsible. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh. We'll do that expression later on, but that's really the center of this entire piece. I want you to look at this piece of Leib Yoshua of Diskin, the Maral of Diskin. It's a difficult piece. So let's try to do it inside. It's in Hebrew. I'm going to do it in the English because it's a difficult piece to understand. But it's very, 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 very interesting.
Page 11.
This is on page 11, yes. Note 2, follow inside. He says, consider the following. Figure 10 is 10 Jewish people living in it. Okay? It's not literal, just as an experiment. One person does a terrible thing. They're doing a terrible Aveira. As soon as they do that, they break down the fence of embarrassment. You know what I'm saying? The first person does something terrible. There's a certain fence that no one would ever do this. Now it's being done. Now what's happened is, that fence, that theoretical fence, had prevented other people from doing stuff up to this point. But now the fence has gone down. Imagine a second person who wants to do the same thing. Is it as bad as the first person? It's still bad. It's still horrible, but it ain't as bad because Joe did it last week. And as soon as the second person does it, the third person, still bad, but the edge is taken off. So eventually, it starts to break down. Okay? The second person sins. He does not need to break this barrier. He doesn't need as much chutzpah to do it. Right? And the third person, and eventually goes on and on and on. And by the get to the fifth person, by the 10th, by the 20th person, it's not an embarrassment anymore. It's a mitzvah. We're all doing it. It must be, we're all expected to do it. Okay? That's his first piece. Following? Make sense? You know what I'm talking about. He then says, and it says in Pirkei Avot that we saw already, last class, judge every person favorably. The sage is giving very, very important advice. Listen to this amazing idea. This advice is in order that we should not break down the internal barrier, fence of embarrassment that hold us back from doing bad things. He explains. You see, when you view a person positively, you hold yourself back from doing the same thing. Why? It's very clever, this. Okay? Since when we think there's no one else transgressing, how can we be the first? Remember, the first person who does the wrong thing is the worst. They break down the fence, the second person not so bad, third, fourth, by 20th, by 50th, right? Everyone's doing it, and it's all fantastic. It's the first person. By judging a person favorably, he says, you've stopped the fence going down. I'm not going to judge them negatively. It must be. So the fence still stands. Another person comes and tries to do it, like, oh, fence still stands. So what you end up doing is preserving the fence around this or any terrible thing. You get that? It's a difficult piece, but it's very clever. When you see the negative in every person, however, then he's likely to stumble since he thinks others are doing it, and therefore it becomes more acceptable. So it's like, why do we judge favorably? Let me figure this out. This is a difficult piece. Let's open our heads. Why do we judge favorably? Because you start judging negatively, then all the fences come down. He's doing something wrong, he's doing something wrong, and then we think everyone's doing something wrong, and then we all start doing something wrong, and everyone does something wrong. The whole society falls down. By judging favorably, the fences don't come down. You get that point? Does that make sense? Yes and yes.
I also think that works the other way. Like for the person you're judging is best interest, because if you judge them favorably, then they think highly of themselves. And
It keeps them up as well. They very, very good. Right? There's a multi movement over here. They think they're not so bad. They think, in other words, when someone judges you negatively, you're like, you know what? I'm just a bad person. I'll just do it again. And what he's saying is when you judge someone badly, when a person judges naturally, then that thing becomes a bad thing, and then he did it. And then he says, well, if he did it, I did it. If he did it, I can do it, and then we can all do it. If you judge him favorably, there's no way he could have done it. How could they have hit that person? I don't believe it. It must be they have like a spasm in their arm, and that's why they hit them. It can't be. What have you done? You preserved not hitting people in the face. It makes sense. It's a deep idea. But it ends up keeping society in a better place.
Just a question, whenever you say that, like, let's say I judge someone negatively, you're saying that, you're not saying that I would, let's say, then go do the action to the other person.
No, you can end up doing the action yourself.
Yeah, but if I'm saying it's,
I know, even though you're saying it very, very good, even though you're saying it's negative, in your mind, somewhere deep down, there's a little fence of like, you know what? They did it. I can do it. Never happens to you. Happens to me a lot. Whenever I judge people, by the way, I don't judge people primarily because as soon as I judge them, I end up doing it myself. This is probably the reason. You ever have that? You're like, oh, how could you do it? And I do it myself. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't judge them. So I don't judge anybody anymore. I mean, maybe other people do. I just can't do it. Purely because, not that I think anything of them, I just end up doing it myself and I don't want to do it myself. So I just don't judge negatively. I'm like, there's got to be another reason. It can't be. You know, give them a pass. Give them a pass. Just John, we'll do one small piece on page 13, and then I'll share something amazing with you from the Chafetz Chaim, which will blow your mind away. we're on page 13, a small piece on page 13. This is the Sefer Chinuch, and he lists this as one of the 613 mitzvot, number 235. And he says, just as we've already said, you've got to judge people favorably. What's the reason? Remember, the Sefer Chinuch is always giving the root reason for doing mitzvot. He says, what's the reason? Because we need to have friends and have shalom. See, if you judge everyone negatively, they're going to hate you. You're going to hate them. And we're going to end up hating each other. And Hashem doesn't want it to everyone. Hashem wants us to love each other and to have shalom and reyut between people. Therefore, the main purpose of this mitzvah, Yeshuv b'nei Adam im Yeshar Din, is to direct communities establish fair judicial systems. What we said about making fair systems. So we take away the chashad, the suspicion one to the other. Just, I gave a class here at university, like a one-off class at School of Optometry. There were Stern students of mine here, who are now students at the SUNY School on 42nd Street. So they asked me to come along this past week. And they get together a class. So we have religious kids there, we have irreligious kids. There was a whole group came for this class. And I was discussing stuff like this. And there was a guy sitting there. I mean, that wasn't a Jewish kid, Jewish secular kid. He says, basically you're saying, we should be nice. So he said. And I said, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, when it comes down to it, that's pretty much what all the mitzvahs are describing are all about. We should just be nice. That's what the mitzvah is saying. Because we're nice, you make shalom between people. We're expected to be nice to each other. Okay? Turn over the page. But that's not going to work in your midterm. Just to answer this question, be nice. I'm just warning you, you have to be more detailed in your midterms than just be nice. But that's pretty much what it comes down to. Right? Let's have a look at the Rambam. Let's have his words on page 14 at the top. A nice, easy, beautiful Rambam. That's what Rambam's good at. Gives us nice, clear halachot and advice. And this is in Hilchot Dayot, which is basically laws of conduct. Okay, by the way, once again, I'll say it again. I've said it before for the bajillionth time, if that's a number. Well, it is now. This is the same Torah that says keep Shabbat, keep kosher, shake a lulav, give tzedakah. The same Torah, the same mitzvah. It says you have to do this as well. This is not cutesy advice. Oh, let's all be nice to each other. Let's go hug each other. Go hug a tree. That's not what it's called. These are actual mitzvahs in the Torah. I say that because when I first taught this, the girl came up to me, how can we learn real mitzvah with like real stuff in them? Rabbi, why can't we, like last semester we were doing like real learning, mezuzah and tefillin and Shabbat and other stuff. I'm like, this is real mitzvot. This is the same Bible that says all that stuff. It's doing the same thing. These are listed in the 613 mitzvah. I mean, I don't know if you could equate this. We seem to think that eating a pig is terrible, which by the way it is. I'm just throwing it out there, right? Right? But offending someone isn't. I don't know how we got to this point in society in Jewish thought. Maybe it's a new thing. Maybe our grandparents knew better than this. I don't know. But suddenly, the idea of... I mean, in my head, I did when you walk into a restaurant. If you see me walk into a restaurant, you see Rabbi Lawrence, as you're walking around the street, and you see me walk into McDonald's, and take out a big pig sandwich and take a bite out of it. Like a real big pig burger, with like milk and shrimp and all the rest of it on top. And you're like, oh my goodness, he's not a rabbi. It can't be. Okay, you'll judge me favorably. He had to eat it. But after I've done that, I'm like, no, I just ate it. You're like, it can't be. He's not. But then you hear me speak Lashon Hara, you'll be like, okay, that's what we do. It's funny, isn't it? Why is that? I don't even know the answer to this question, by the way. I don't know why some is what we consider to be absolutely terrible, terrible things. And then when it comes to this stuff between each other, which is the same Torah, the same mitzvah, it gets a ranking in the Bible. So I'm like, that's what we do, it's natural. Why isn't it me taking a bite out of a pig's head natural? I don't...
It's rhetorical.
Is what?
It's a rhetorical question.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just not.
Leo, hit it.
I just think that like when you're, I know that obviously everything we're doing is because like God is watching and He's judging us for people whatever. But yeah. So when we're eating a pig, then other people might judge us. But what
you're saying when you do something bad, like people, you've done it, but you've done something against someone else. You're not the center; they're the focus. What we're saying here is though that you're the focus.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the point. Very good. Very good. Very good. So when you judge someone else, right? It's not about me. I'm a great person. They're the bad one. It's hard to see where the mission. And we're saying no. Actually, you, the judger, are making a mistake if you do it negatively.
Yeah.
I like it. Write that down.
Okay.
Put that in your midterm. Okay, page 14. Let's look at the Rambam. Small piece of critical Rambam. Says the Rambam, Talmud Chacham lo yetzlek b'shat diburo kebehimot b'kachavot. The Talmud Chacham. Now, he used the word Talmud Chacham over here as a Torah scholar. I would like to point out, however, that this is true in terms of great Torah scholars. However, nowadays, I believe any Torah observant Jew who claims to be a Torah observant Jew falls under this rubric. If they know you represent Judaism in today's day and age, I believe you fall under this category as well. Even if you don't think you're a Talmud Chachama, truth is, the world sees you. I mean, look at in your families, you're already the rabbis, right? Most of you, they come to you, right? They come to you, oh, the rabbi's here. You're like, I'm 20 years old in college. Oh, no, you're the rabbi, you're the religious one. Right? They see you as Talmud Chacham. I know how it flies. Right? I know where you travel. You're saying like, oh, you're Yeshiva University. Well, Rabbi Rebbitzin. Right? Like, I'm just studying. No. Why can't I do? So you end up representing Judaism for them. Having said that, let's have a look what the Rambam says about such people. He says, don't scream, shout like an animal when you speak to people. Talk calmly and nicely. Wow. Rambam, law, yikes. I'm not going to make public truth. No screaming. Okay, very good. The law that be a total bioter, don't raise your voice even. Ela diburo benachat ikol. Speak nicely and gently to all people. All people. Not just your family, community, your friends, the other Jewish, everyone. Just be nice to them.
You're just a loud person.
Lower it. Okay, if your voice is loud naturally, okay, it means like anger. Like that.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's okay. Yes. That's what it means. Some people are just louder in terms of the octaves in their voice. That's not what we're talking about. People who like raise their voice and why do you have that? Like that, you know? And by the way, it means all people. That means you walk into a Starbucks and you want to order a coffee. For some reason you want to spend $9 on a coffee, that's up to you. But you walk in there, thank you so much. That's very, very nice of you. So nice of them. They're taking time, they missed your order. Someone, heaven forbid, got their coffee before you. Hey, what about my coffee? I was here for... No, you can't do that. That's a Rambam. I've done that before. Go to the parking lots. Oh, parking lots are where all the arguments happen. You give your ticket in, you wait 5 minutes, someone else comes in, gives their ticket in, their car comes out first. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? I was here 5 minutes ago, so my car, you know who I am, I was my suit, I got my tie, and a money, and a bit. It's like, oh, it must be that my car is buried deeper than theirs, and this person who's barely on minimum wage isn't trying to upset you or control your life. Right? This is just what happens sometimes. And I'm going to speak nice. Thank you so much. I understand the problem. And believe me, I've shouted in the parking lots. It's not okay. Okay? And all the other occasions, when you walk out of the Stern building, you may have noticed to your right, there is a non-Jewish security guard there. I make a point of every morning saying good morning, and when leaving, I always say, it's like, at this point it's habit, I don't even think about it. Thank you, have a nice day. And when they ask me to take out my card, which they do even to me sometimes, when there's a new security guard, which seems to be every second day around here, I'm like, oh, come on, you know who I am? I look like a terrorist. Don't ask that question, by the way. That was rhetorical. Okay? Alright, take it out. They're trying to protect me. I mean, they see my last name, it just gets worse. But they're trying to protect me. Okay. Being very serious, by the way. Umakdim shalom lekol adam. Says the Rambam, you should make the initiative to greet everyone first. That's a wild Rambam. You should try to greet people first. And judge people favorably. That's our mitzvah. We're on page 14. Top of the page, look at the Rambam, second paragraph. You got it, darling? Great. Right. Always say nice things about your friend. So tell me about Lara. What a good student. What a nice girl. Tell me about Kayla. She's always early. She's always eating healthy foods. Right? She's just a nice person. Talk well about people. Speak. Ohev shalom. Love peace. Verodef shalom. And pursue it. Don't just be like, oh, I love peace. Like, go after it. By the way, who was that statement made after? The Rambam is taking that from Pirkei Avot. Who in Jewish history was the Ohev Shalom, the Rodef Shalom? Write this next to it if you don't know the answer. Who's the most person who loved the people the most?
Avram.
More than Avram. And I'm sure he loved people.
I don't know if it says here.
Oh, he does?
Yes. Aaron
Aaron HaKohen is absolutely correct. Very good. Aaron HaKohen was the one who loved people more than anybody else. Right? When you love and pursue peace, in general, we should always speak words of wisdom and loving kindness. As that guy said. Just be nice.
Never talk about them.
About who?
Talk about
Aaron
Aaron.
Cohen.
Why did we never talk about it? We just did.
No, I mean, in general, like, I don't know anything about
Aaron, this is Moshe Rabbeinu's older brother. Very good. This is Moshe Rabbeinu's older brother, who was actually the rabbi of the Jewish people in Egypt, because Moses wasn't even there. We do speak about him in the Torah a lot, actually, when you start to talk about all the stuff that happens in the Mishkan. So there's a lot written about him. You're right, though, he kind of plays second fiddle to Moshe.
This is like the one we talk about.
Moses, when we talk about, for sure, is more about Moshe Rabbeinu. By the way, that's why Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to accept the position of being the leader, because he thought his older brother Aaron would be upset about it, and argued with God for a week at the burning bush, saying, no! Give it to Aaron. Hashem said, Aaron's going to have his job, and you're going to have your job. He's going to be the high priest. Don't worry about him. His merit is great. But Moshe Rabbeinu still has the bigger role. He's the greatest prophet that ever lived. Just because there's a great person doesn't mean everyone else is nothing.
How old was Aaron?
8, 9 years older than him, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Much older, much older. No, not 89.
He was 89 years older than
No. It is, I think like 9, 10 years older than him.
Oh, he was 89 years old when
No.
he died?
No, he was 9 or 10 years older than Moshe Rabbeinu.
Oh.
Not that much older.
How old
I
was he when
believe.
he died?
Moshe was 120. I don't know. He died before Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu saw his death.
Oh.
Moshe Rabbeinu saw his death.
So he wasn't like the pretty old
And
guys?
no. And who actually wanted to have the same death as him.
Was he the guy in the movie where he made that girl and became you?
I didn't see the movie, so I can't. You mean which of the Ten Commandments? I know. I've read.
I
Yeah,
saw the Rugrats version.
you saw the
Oh my
Rugrats.
gosh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Prince of Egypt is the best.
It's so good.
Yes. I love being slugged up from a movie, but I'm not really sure exactly. Yes, Rebecca.
I heard a really interesting share about Aaron Cohen and Moshe Rabbeinu, that they were like the first, that they're like the example of siblings, like the best example.
Yes, they are the best example of siblings in the entire Torah.
Because they like recognize that the other's strength, like they're.
Let's not forget Miriam as well, absolutely. And don't forget Miriam, they both realized they had a special, and they work very, very well together. Very different personalities, the way you see it. Very, very, very different.
Yeah, Miriam was.
Actually, the Kabbalah says that they were both reincarnated as two other great people in Jewish history.
Oh, yeah.
If you believe in reincarnation.
Hillel and
Hillel and Shammai. Who came back as who?
Hillel is Aaron? No, Moshe.
Hillel was Aaron, Moshe was Shammai. Shammai was Din, judgment.
I remember that because of the Hillel
Okay.
schools.
Turn to page 6 because we're going to finish this topic today. Ooh, I'm excited. We can do this. Oh yeah, we're going to finish this. Okay, here we go. Look at page 15. I'm going to get through a little bit more. Hold your questions. Let's try to get through this. We have 20 minutes. Page 15. I want to look at the Chofetz Chaim. And the Chofetz Chaim, Rav Yisrael Meir Kagan HaKohen, was very much into this topic. Basically, he summed up all the major halachas, but his one topic that he made his life's mission was Lashon Hara, speaking bad about other people, which is related to this, because you judge people negatively, you speak about them badly. In short. Now, we're going to learn the laws of Lashon Hara towards the end of the semester, but for now, he's going to talk about this particular topic, and this is in Shara Savuna, Shmat HaLashon, the laws of speech. And he says, How important is that a person should accustom themselves to judge other people favorably? Now, listen to this amazing idea. Because through this character trait of judging favorably, and the opposite, heaven forbid, i.e., judging people negatively, this trait of positive, page 15, you got it? This trait of positive, negative judging people actually is going to define whether you're a tzaddik, righteous person, or a rasha. This isn't just like a small difference. This is going to be the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha, a bad person, an evil person, based upon this one trait. This is the deciding factor if you're great or terrible. How could that be? How so? And he answers, Ki yaduhu d'chavoto shel adam v'zchuto tluya lefi rov mitzvot v'avanot sheyesh biyado. He says it's well known, or maybe it's not so well known, but according to him it was, that a person's status is determined whether their mitzvot exceed the averot. Okay, this is an idea we spoke about during Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur time. A person is judged; they should have more good deeds than negative deeds. This is, by the way, more in terms of quantity, but probably also, and definitely actually, in terms of quality. Okay, you should have more good. You should be doing more good than bad. That's how a person should be. He says fine, and that's how you're judged. Now, this is amazing. Check this out. Let's say God tries to judge you. Let's say God tries to judge you. Hannah Newman. Let's say, heaven forbid, you don't want this to happen, that God's going to judge your good stuff and your bad stuff. Okay? Is that a good thing or a bad thing to have judged? It's not good, not just for you, for anyone. Because generally speaking, we probably do more bad stuff than good stuff. For most people, that's just the way it is. Right? Maybe negligently, maybe just automatically. We don't want God to judge us. You just don't want that. Because if God sees more avail than mitzvot, trouble could, heaven forbid, ensue. Are you following so far? So we all basically have stuff that we do good and stuff we do bad. We don't want God judging us, right? We don't want the IRS to look at our books. Because although we do a lot of good stuff that's legal, we could do stuff that's so good. You don't want the IRS checking your statements. Right? When your parents come home like the IRS are after me, it's not a good sign. Maybe they did good stuff and a lot of bad stuff as well. Right? You don't want the IRS to look at your accounts. Trust me. When it comes to paying taxes, like, yep, they flagged me. Oh no. Because what happens, they start dredging up all the stuff you've done, all the stuff you forgot about the little stuff. You get the analogy? Like the tax man, not good. Nicht geht. Hub nicht. Okay? Any language you think of. Actually, especially Russian. Right. Now, if God were to scrutinize our mitzvot, most would be found to be lacking, he says. Yimsu ruban vali mumin. Most of our mitzvot we just do because we want honor, we want people to think well of us, we feel guilty. It's not done for the pure purpose. Even our mitzvah ain't so good. And the Chofetz Chaim speaks about himself as well. Mitzvah shishar lo yemiyot, and all the stuff that's left is miyot. The little good deed, the one good thing we did with a pure heart is probably not so big, really. It's like a tiny little thing. You following so far? Listen very carefully. It's very important. Neged, as opposed to our avanot, sheyesh the person has. So our mitzvot, even the good stuff we've done, probably ain't so great. And the bad stuff was probably done with more enjoyment. Right? We usually enjoy the bad stuff more than the good stuff. However, if God is merciful upon us, he does a favor for us, which he must do, or we'll be in big trouble. Hashem says, you know what? I'm going to judge you. At least once a year, I'm going to judge you. How am I going to judge you? I am merciful, says God. I'm going to judge you favorably. She's having a hard day. She wasn't feeling so well. That's why she was mean and nasty. Right? The mitzvah she did for ulterior motives. It wasn't really her fault. So God, we want God to judge us favorably for our good stuff, the mitzvah, and the negative stuff. Here's the question. Listen very carefully. How do we get God to judge us favorably? God could judge it negatively, like, oh, that's it, you're in big trouble. Squish him. God acts mercifully. How do we trigger off God's midah of positive judgment. With me? So he looks at our bad actions and like, they didn't mean it. And the good stuff, I'm going to give them more credit than they deserve. Emily.
We judge others favorably, God will judge us favorably.
Right. And the concept is midah keneged midah. Measure for measure. This is one of the ways the spiritual world works. Midah keneged midah. God judges us, says the Chofetz Chaim, the same way we judge other people. Now, if that isn't a good motivation for behaving well, I don't know what is. In other words, unlike the tax man who doesn't care how you judge other people's taxes, when Hashem judges us, they'd be like, you know what, I want to judge them negatively. But you know what? They judge people well. They're a positive judger. I act towards people, says Hashem, in a mirror-like fashion. You judge people well. You judge my creatures, my creations well. I appreciate that. I'm going to do the same for you. You get it? That's the Chofetz Chaim. He says, it all depends on our own opinion, habits towards others. If you judge people favorably, you're judged favorably. Right? That's the Gemara in Shabbat. If you judge other people negatively, oh, why do they do that? They're so mean. Why do they have to buy that? How do they have to be there? The angels will be like, oh, that's what you're about. I'm going to do the same for you. You get judged, and you don't want to be judged negatively, because nobody can be perfectly honest that all their good things are good things. So he says, Al Kain, therefore, look at this big conclusion. A person should know while they're still alive. Whether when you judge your friend, what are you actually judging? Yourself. That's the twist. That's the punchline. That's the ironic ending. You judge negatively, you're just judging yourself negatively. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You think you're doing a great thing, but it boomerangs back to you. Bein l'tav, bein l'mutav. When you judge them well, you get judged well. You're judging yourself positively. But when you judge them negatively, you're judging yourself negatively. You're just messing your own life up. That's the secret, says the Chofetz Chaim, behind this entire mitzvah. Yeah?
I read something else interesting in this book, Shmir Halashon. He says in the beginning, I think, that Hashem doesn't hear anything negative about us from the angels until we speak Lashon Hara.
Exactly. The Lashon Hara, when we get to Lashon Hara, it's going to open the door. If you don't speak bad, they can't speak bad against you, because they're a reflection of you. The Malachim, the angels, are a reflection of you. Not like some exterior beings that come along and always judge you. They're just operating from you. You create them. The form of your actions create these angels. Whatever that means. I don't know what that means. I've never met an angel before. I met some people who got close, I have to admit. But a real angel. And ends up, that's the way they react towards you. That's why it says the Talmud Devorah, last piece, and we'll start a new topic on Tuesday, Thursday. Thank you. When you reach my age, Kayla, it's not so simple. The days escape you. I'm like, what day is it? Where am I? I wake up Shabbat morning sometimes after the end of that long sleep. I'm like, where am I? Laugh now. Says the Torah. Look at top page 17. He says, you know what? This is what Moshe could have on Talmud Devorah. He's like, ultimately, the role of a person is to emulate God. Okay? That's what we want to be like God. And God has the ultimate good traits. And we want to do the same thing. So he says, a person should emulate this trait as well of judge people. Instead of ignoring favors that the person has done for him, focusing on the bad things he has done, he should do the opposite. He should do his best to forget about the negative things a person has done and always think about the good things. So someone, what do you think about that person? They did 99 good things for you, one bad thing. Don't focus on the one bad. Focus on the 99 good. Okay? Right? You should best to forget about the negative things and always recall the good things. Right? Allow the impression of these good things to outweigh all the other things that they did to you. Okay? And what you're saying is true. But ultimately, that's what God does. God judges us favorably, and we want to be the same. That was pretty much all I'm going to teach you today. Any questions, thoughts, comments on anything I looked at today? Or did the hand was up first, Laura, and then we're going to have yes.
Is it true that like whenever you, because I heard some people say that when you like speak about someone in a positive way, it's still considered emotional?
That's not true. That's a misnomer. No, let me explain what that means. It's a misnomer. You should say good things about another person. They say you shouldn't overdo it, especially when you're with someone you know doesn't like them, because that person will be like, oh, you think they're so good? I'll tell you it's me. So you shouldn't do it in front of their face because it embarrasses them, you know. But you should say good things about a person. It's a tremendous mitzvah. But if you know that person doesn't like them or had a bad experience, then don't do it. But talking positive about someone, that's exactly what you should do. That's what the Torah wants from you. That's really the mitzvah. That's, people think, oh, you know, I heard you shouldn't overdo it. I mean, you shouldn't lie about it, but until a person comes along and starts saying, well, Lara, thoughts, comments?
Yeah, could you explain again what you just said about why it's not good to boast about the good qualities of one person in front of a person that doesn't like that person?
That's related to Lashon Hara. When you speak too positively about someone, let's say you have a friend called Shoshana. Shoshana had a fight with Rachel, okay? But you like Shoshana. So you're with Rachel, you're like, you know what Shoshana did for me last night? Because she's just the best person. How good is she? I'll tell you, she's like the best. Eventually, what's Rachel going to do? Can I tell you what she did to me? And then Lashon Hara ensues. When we get to Lashon Hara, we'll go more into it. But that's what the restriction is basically about. But talking positive about other people, that's what I'm going to be doing. Fabulous. Topic over in 3 classes. Thanks, Rachel. We will regroup on Thursday, God willing. Same place, same time, same place.